Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. This week, we're going to talk about how to pick a paint color, and we'd like to thank Trendy Paints for liking and sharing the podcast. And this week, we had an interview with Michelle from Peel Tek. It's a liquid masking tape for your painting projects. Historians think Isaac Newton developed the color wheel in 1706, and he was using the colors he saw coming out of a prism. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And he painted the colors on a disc, and when he spun it, it turned white. Interesting, huh? So traditionally, the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue, and ancient paint was primarily red, yellow, brown, black, and white because they used pigments made from soil, animal fat, charcoal, and chalk.
So what do you mean traditionally the primary colors were red, yellow, and blue?
So a primary color is a color that you can't mix other colors to create.
Right.
So it's only...
I know that.
Okay.
And I thought it was red, yellow, and blue.
So now many artists say the true primary colors are magenta, yellow, and cyan, like the colors in a printer.
Okay, so but like magenta's red.
Right. And cyan's
is blue.
Right.
So it's just different names? So why did they come up for a different name for yellow?
You know what's interesting is the colors we see.
Yeah.
Scientists think that color perception is not predetermined. Just because an object is bouncing a color to your eyes at a certain wavelength, each person may perceive it as a different color. So most people have 3 photoreceptors for red, green, and blue. Some people have a 4th receptor, so they can see a full range of color with greater sensitivity.
Hence magenta.
Right. And colorblind people are missing 1 or more of the photoreceptors. So color can create an emotional response. There's a lot of suggestions on color and how it makes people feel. Like warm colors are stimulating, but your reaction to a color can be very personal. And how we react to colors in our culture may be completely different somewhere else. So one article I read says yellow is associated with warmth, cheerfulness, and energy. But in Germany, yellow represents envy. In Egypt, it's the color of good fortune. In the U.S., white is considered neutral, cool, or clean. And in China and Korea, white represents death, mourning, and bad luck. You know, in France in the 10th century, the doors of criminals were painted yellow. And the superhero, the Green Lantern, he was scared of yellow. Green light is used for night vision goggles because we can recognize more shades of green and we're more sensitive to that wavelength. And some studies suggest that people are more productive in blue rooms, and mosquitoes also like the color blue. Bees can't see red, so red flowers are usually pollinated by birds and butterflies rather than bees. And we can distinguish about 500 shades of gray.
I thought it was 50. Will you just be providing facts about colors this whole episode, or are we going to talk about picking a paint color?
So Isaac Newton's color wheel is actually a pretty good tool to help you narrow down a color scheme for your painting project. So most color wheels are going to have 12 or 24 main colors around the outside edge, and then tints, tones, and shades of those colors. And it can help you pick a group of colors for a color scheme for painting. So secondary colors are made from mixing 2 of the primary colors. Analogous colors are neighboring colors, like blue and purple. Complementary colors are opposites on the color wheel, like the Chicago Bear colors, blue and orange. Triadic colors are 3 equally spaced colors. And then monochromatic colors are tints, tones, and shades of one color. And that's the most subtle way to combine different colors.
Can you explain what tints, tones, and shades mean?
So you're going to see a lot of terms when you're looking in these paint departments.
That's why I'm asking.
Right? So a tint can actually be just a colorant you're adding to paint. But when you're talking about colors, a tint is a color plus white.
Okay.
A tone is the color plus gray. A shade is the color plus black. So hue, H-U-E, is the color. So blue is a hue. And then if you tint a hue, you'd be adding white to it.
Okay.
If you see intensity, it's the purity of the color. So there's no added white or black. A value is the relative lightness or darkness of a color, and it has to do with light reflection too. Saturation is the intensity of the hue, so less saturation, it looks like it's washed out. Warm colors are reds, oranges, and yellows. Cool colors are greens, blues, and violets. So a color wheel can help you group what colors will work together in your home by looking at the groupings. So it will show you monochromatic, complementary, triadic, and you can see what appeals to you.
So it's not so overwhelming when you're at a paint store?
Right, exactly. I spoke to Todd. He's a paint expert at True Value Hardware, and he said a great tool to help you pick paint colors is an online paint visualizer. And True Value, on their website, they have something called a mood room, and it's a room with furniture, and the wall colors change to 6 different themes. So you can pick distinguished, dramatic, energetic, peaceful, playful, or refreshing. And each one of these themes, you have 4 groups of color combinations. So it's an easy way to see what colors you like, and many of the paint companies have visualization tools where you can change the color of the wall paint in rooms that they have on their site, or you can upload pictures of your rooms and virtually paint the walls, and then you can actually see what looks good with your decor.
Right.
Another tool that the paint expert at True Value said they have is
Todd?
Yes, Todd said they have an Easy Care paint sample kit in the stores. So you can pick a custom color, you get a paint sample, a mini roller, a mini tray, a can opener, and you get this sample sheet that's repositionable. So you can paint this and place it on your wall or, in different rooms and see if you like the color. And then you also get a coupon book. So it costs $7 and you get a $7 coupon when you go back and buy a gallon of paint.
Nice.
So it's an easy way to see whether you really like the color or not, so you can kind of live with this for a while.
Right, without having to paint the whole wall.
Right. And when you're painting a sample sheet like this or a small piece of drywall to see whether you like the color, use a primer and 2 coats of paint the same sheen, and that way it's really going to look like the finished wall. Some companies have large paint samples that you can tape up to the wall and live with for a few days, and use painter's tape that's marked delicate surface, or check how many days it can be left up without leaving a residue. Many pros suggest putting multiple paint samples next to your trim, your cabinets, countertops, or the carpet to see how it looks next to other colors, rather than putting a small paint sample in the middle of a wall, because if you put a small patch of paint in the middle of a wall, it can actually change the look of the color depending on the wall color and the lighting. So Todd from True Value said to help simplify choosing paint colors is to study the color of all the fixed items in your room first that you won't be changing.
Okay.
So like your furniture, your flooring, artwork. What's the main color theme? And then think about the color scheme that looks good to you, like monochromatic or analogous.
Right.
And it's just an easy way to start. Many decorators say use the 60-30-10 rule. So
The what?
The 60-30-10. So 60% of your room should be one color, your walls, your floors, and your main furniture. 30% another color, area rugs, window coverings, and small accent furniture. And then 10% should be a third color. That'd be your accessories and artwork. And that's kind of an easy way to group your color. So you're looking at your main furniture and your flooring, which is going to kind of dictate the color of your wall. And if you're moving into a new home and you don't have your furniture yet, many of the pros are saying pick your furniture and your carpet colors first, what you like,
Right.
and then pick your wall colors to complement that. I spoke to the paint department at Do It Best Hardware, and they had some tips from Pratt and Lambert Paint. So Pratt and Lambert says they're seeing a trend of homes being painted in warm gray, white, and taupe so that the furniture and the accessories are the accents. One suggestion they made to make an impact when someone walks into your home is use a dramatic color in the entryway. You get a pop of color and then go more neutral throughout the house. They have regional color recommendations and color trends on their website at prattandlambert.com. It's prattandlambert.com. And I read some blogs from home stagers, and some of the colors that get the best response from people are pale gray with beige undertones, light blue, dark charcoal as an accent wall in a big room if you have light colored furniture, yellow with white undertones in bedrooms, and navy blue in rooms with lots of natural light.
What is an undertone?
So if you see a color sample and it looks blue, it could actually be slightly toward green or slightly toward violet, so it's not a pure blue. And the way you can see the undertones is get a paint sample that's a pure blue, put it next to that color, and you'll see the undertones. And that's where a color wheel comes in handy. Mm-hmm. So like using gray with a beige undertone, it looks good next to beige trim. And the color cards that you can get in paint stores or hardware stores with the suggested coordinated colors makes it easy to match colors with similar undertones. Mm-hmm. I've got a few tips from a couple of different home stagers. Pale beige and a monochromatic scheme appeals to a wide range of people if you're repainting your home for resale. Use 3 to 5 colors max throughout your house. As you're moving from room to room, use tints or shades of one color. You can paint molding and trim slightly lighter or darker than the walls to give a subtle effect to highlight the colors of the wall. Mm-hmm. You can use one color on your baseboard and trim throughout your house, and then you have a consistent theme, and then use corresponding colors for the walls. To make your home look larger, paint all rooms that can be seen from the front entryway the same color. If you like the look of complementary colors, use one color for 80% and the complementary color for 20% of the room. Mm-hmm. If you go 50-50, it's too jarring. You can combine warm or cool colors, but pick one as the dominant theme. And then I read a couple articles about some studies that were quoted from Zillow. It's Zillow. It's an online real estate database. Mm-hmm. So they studied thousands of home sales, and they compared similar homes where the paint colors were the one big difference in the homes.
Really?
So homes with a combination of gray and brown on the exterior sold for approximately $1,500 more than similar homes. Homes that the front door was painted navy blue and similar homes there was really no difference sold for $1,500 more. And front doors that were painted black or charcoal sold for $6,000 more than similar houses.
Wow.
And that was like the one big difference.
So everybody should paint their door?
Houses with dining rooms that were painted blue averaged around $1,900 more. Dining rooms that were painted red, $2,000 less. Living rooms that were light taupe got about $2,700 more. Light blue, $800 less. Bathrooms that were painted light blue, $2,700 more. Bathrooms that were painted white, on average, sold for $4,000 less.
Ouch.
And what's interesting is I read a few articles that people don't like white bathrooms. It's weird, huh?
You know, my parents recently just painted their bathroom.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what other people don't like.
Yeah.
Is hot pink
right.
bathroom, tiny bathroom. She painted the ceiling this hot pink. I mean, I scream every time I go in there. It's jarring. You've seen it. Isn't it?
Yeah, well, I like Pepto-Bismol.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah,
you know.
That's the color.
So houses where kitchens are painted light blue and gray with blue sold for $1,800 more on average. Red kitchens sold for $2,300 less. And yellow kitchens, $800 less. A few articles I read by realtors said that they get some of the best feedback from people looking at homes with neutral colors, and homes that were just repainted get a lot of positive remarks from buyers. For ceiling paint in general, most pros say a white or light colored ceiling can make the room seem taller or bigger, and a ceiling darker than the walls can make it seem smaller or the room isn't as tall. And some decorators like dark colors on the ceiling in a large living room. They say it makes it feel warmer or more intimate. And some pros like a bathroom with the walls and the ceiling the same color to make it seem bigger. The wall and the ceiling blends together.
Not recommending hot pink, though.
Right. And if you have cove molding in a light color, a slightly darker ceiling can create contrast and emphasize the trim. You'd want to paint your ceiling white if you have a lot of color and patterns in your room. Paint your ceiling a flat white if you have imperfections in your ceiling. A flat white paint is going to help hide the imperfections. And if the room doesn't have a lot of natural light, you'd want to paint it white. That's going to help brighten up the room.
Okay.
When I was doing some of this research, I saw an article that a Chinese toolmaker was fined $54 million for copying DeWalt's trademark color scheme, the yellow and black. Makita uses teal and black. Milwaukee, red and black. Black & Decker, orange and black. Ryobi, green and black. So there's some good color combinations there. If you want hardware colors in your house.
Do you have some top-rated paint companies?
Behr, BEHR, Pratt & Lambert, Sherwin-Williams, Valspar, Olympic, Benjamin Moore. And when I spoke to Todd from True Value, he said their Easy Care Ultra Premium Interior has a lifetime warranty. It's a great paint at an exceptional value. It's ultra low VOC and extremely low odor. I spoke to Michelle from Peel Tek, and she had some information on their product.
Hi, Michelle. Cindy and I were talking about some painting projects, and we found your product, Peel Tek, and thought it was very interesting and was hoping you could share some information about it.
Absolutely. Peel Tek 150 was actually designed by my brother, who has been in the construction and building industry for, probably more than 30 years. He had a company called Creative Stone where he created man-made stone for building fronts. And so he kind of combined those two industries and came up with Peel Tek. His desire was to find a product that would easily mask very rough and very porous surfaces, like brick, stone, things that we have a really difficult time with masking. And so he put that product together actually on a job. He was doing a huge remodel in California, and he had a stacked stone fireplace that he needed to mask off, and he had just various surfaces that needed either protection or masking, and tape just wasn't doing the job for him.
Did he formulate the product?
He did.
Could you explain the product?
Well, yeah, Peel Tek 150, it's a temporary protective surface coating and liquid masking. It has a latex base, natural latex base, and he wanted a liquid because with tape, it doesn't seep down into crevices and things like that. So you're always going to have some kind of bleed through or an area that the tape didn't get down into, and your paint or product, whatever you're using, seeps underneath it.
Right.
With this, because it's liquid base, you brush it on like paint or you roll it on, depending upon your project. And it kind of seeps down into all those little nooks and crannies and crevices. And once it cures, it forms almost like a glove.
Yeah, amazing.
But then when you peel it off, when you're all done with your job and you don't need the product anymore, and you peel it off, it peels away completely. It leaves no residue. And that's even on surfaces that you've left it on for weeks at a time.
Oh, really?
Interior-wise, it can be left on weeks, even months, and you will have no problem peeling it off. Exterior, you want to peel it off within 5 days because contact with the UV rays causes a degradation to the product, and it makes it more difficult to peel off. Yeah.
And we're applying this with a paintbrush or a paint roller?
I keep a stock of those really cheap little paint brushes because I use it all the time. I do a lot of crafting projects and just refurbishing furniture and stuff. And so I just go buy me a bag of those paint brushes.
Sure.
I mean, you can use it on a regular paintbrush and it'll eventually clean off pretty good, but I just don't bother. I just use a cheap one, use it, and then toss the brush. Sure. We're also coming out with a product called Sure Shot. And what it is basically it's a mini caulking gun. So you fill the applicator with Peel Tek, and then you can do like really fine lines. And we use it mostly when we're combining Peel Tek with either masking paper or masking plastic. If you have a large surface or a large room or something that you want to mask off, you would just take the Sure Shot with your Peel Tek in it, run a small bead along the edge of your paper or plastic, and then push it into place. And it will stay up there until you take it off.
Yeah, very interesting. And how long does it take to cure before you would paint over this? So if I'm painting this on to protect a surface, how long would I wait before I start painting?
Well, it actually does not have to be dry if you're painting.
Okay.
It has to be dry to peel off.
Okay.
But curing time is anywhere from 20 minutes to about an hour, depending upon humidity and temperature, much like paint. I masked off about an inch below my ceiling because I was going to be retexturing my ceiling and repainting my ceiling.
Okay.
I used a roller for this, and I just did a 1-inch band all the way around the room of Peel Tek. Once I got to the other side of the room, the part that I started on, it was almost dry.
So pretty quick.
Pretty quick, yeah.
And so we can cover a variety of surfaces. If you're painting a door, you could cover the doorknobs or the hinges. Will it get into something that intricate?
Yes, it will. Actually, we have quite a few contractors now who specialize in remodeling historic homes. Here in Bastrop, Texas, where we're at, our downtown area is very historic. It's one of the oldest cities in Texas. And so we have a lot of very historic homes, and the contractors will take Peel Tek, and rather than taking the hardware off, because then you risk damaging that hardware and it can't be replaced, because it's old.
Right.
It's, it's period, to the whenever the house was built, some of them in the 1800s. And so they'll paint like the doorknobs, the hinges, even springs with the Peel Tek and do their refinishing. And they can still utilize the door that way. They can still open and close the door.
Wow, what a great idea.
Yeah, the only thing that we tell people to do is like say a doorknob. If you're going to cover a doorknob so you don't have to take it off, once Peel Tek is dry, just dust it with a little bit of baby powder and it takes the tackiness away.
Okay.
So that you're not risking removing the Peel Tek every time you go to turn that doorknob.
Right. And then what other projects? Like for a homeowner, if they're doing painting, you can cover just about any surface?
Yes. We have not really identified a surface that Peel Tek won't work on. I wouldn't suggest using Peel Tek if you're painting with flat paint.
Okay.
But with flat paint, you risk when you go to peel that Peel Tek off, because some of the paint has absorbed in it, it'll peel off with it as well.
Okay.
So that's our only disclaimer, I guess you would say, of what not to use it on. But we've used it on brick, stone, stucco, cement, glass, plastic, metal. The list goes on. And we get calls in or write-ins all the time about, I used it for this. We actually had a contractor come up to us at a show, and he wanted to know if the drawer guides, the drawer pulls, like for your kitchen drawers, he wanted to know if it would protect that, because oftentimes the cabinets will come in unfinished, but the drawers are already installed, and the stain makes it so it won't glide back and forth nicely. And we didn't know. We'd never tried that. There's lots of bearings and different things in there.
Sure. We
dipped it in the Peel Tek, let it cure. The next day, we pulled it off. We did it the next day, not because it took that long to dry, but because we wanted to film it to show what it did.
Sure.
And it came out of every single nook and cranny, and that drawer pull was perfectly functional.
Yeah, it looks like a very interesting product. And if we wanted to learn more, where would we go, Michelle?
You want to go to peeltek.com. That's www.pel-tek.com. And we also have a Facebook page, Peel Tek 150. There's we get a lot of comments, and we try to respond to each and every comment. You can leave a question there about, how do I use this for something? And we love to give advice on using the product.
That's great. Well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Sounds like a great product.
Yeah, seems very interesting.
Do you have anything else to add?
If you're having trouble picking a paint color, take a look at the color visualizers online, see what appeals to you, and then what's the main color of your carpet and your furniture in a room, and pick a color scheme you like, or go to a paint store and get brochures with those predominant colors, and it's going to help with coordinating colors.
So you're not so overwhelmed by the paint chart?
Right. And then if all else fails, a monochromatic color scheme is the easiest, and most people are going to find that pleasing.
Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, CastBox, Player FM, or your favorite podcast app.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our books, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com. And you can follow Cindy on Twitter @FixItCohost.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.
Different